Hello there, and we continue in our video series on the mental health crisis in teenagers. The question some people ask is, are the mental health issues with teenagers truly increasing? Well, we're going to be talking about that and more in this video. What do the numbers tell us about the teen mental health issue? We need to look at those, right, to know whether it's really increasing or not. And we want to look at some of the factors that might be playing into this, things like social media use, the loneliness epidemic, the pressure to be at your best or to excel, and what can we do? Parents, educators, school systems, what can be done? All those things we'll be talking about in this video. Any way you look at it, the numbers are not good when it comes to teen mental health. Over the last decade, we've seen a 30% increase in the suicide rate. That's alarming. Or when you have 42%, according to the CDC, of teenagers in 2023, they're reporting they had persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness. That's quite alarming. The statistics tell us that 1 in 3 teenagers before they turn the age of 18 are going to have or experience some sort of anxiety disorder. So any way that you look at it, the numbers, the data about what teens are experiencing and reporting is not positive. We can look at, like Noah. Noah was an athlete involved in school, soccer, everything, right? He was involved in everything. And then he stopped doing some of those activities and he started spending more time in his room and became more moody, snappy. They noticed that, his parents noticed that he was spending more time gaming. Grades began to suffer. So over the course of his high school years, Noah went from being involved in everything, being an up-and-coming star, to being more reclusive. And it kind of snuck up on his parents. But that's the kind of alarming trend that we need to become more aware of because it's symptomatic of an underlying mental health issue. One of the real issues that teens are facing, we as a society are really facing, is the social media's impact on this mental health. And the more and more data that we get, the more alarming it's becoming on how social media plays into this. The work of John Haidt is really beginning to show a strong causative relationship between like smartphones and social media and a lot of the mental health crisis. That's still under debate, but the more and more data that's coming in, the more he argues that they're finding strong evidence for causative relationship. If you look at the book Glow Kids, which came out several years ago about screen addiction, kids on average, teenagers on average, are between 7 and 9 hours of screen time a day. It's not just the smartphones, screen time a day. That is alarming. That should wake all of us up. Smartphones have become a significant aspect because we can take our phones with us and social media wherever we go. That was, excuse me, part of what the issue with Noah was, right? Is he begins really spending more and more time on social media and gets caught into this comparison trap, which happens quite a bit. You see people posting their star performance in soccer or their scores that they're getting, on test scores to get into colleges. And kids they see this kind of false perception of what reality is, and they don't measure up to it, and they begin to get this defeatist mindset that's kind of brought about by this false comparison, this false sense of what reality is. And this is especially true for teenage girls, although it does affect boys as well, such as Noah. Students are also getting the message, and the message isn't necessarily bad in and of itself, but the message about the need to go to college, the need for that post-secondary education is fueled by some facts, right? Simple fact is a college degree over the lifetime of somebody's working is worth over $1 million compared to somebody with a high school diploma. And a high school diploma is about very similar numbers to over like a GED. So there's this pressure to get into colleges and then to get into good colleges. And depending on the districts you're from, the school district, it can be a lot of pressure to get into the right college. And the worry about getting in and then doing well when you're in there, being able to pay for it, you got to get scholarships. This puts a lot of self-imposed pressure on students to excel academically, right? If they aren't doing as well as, their friends, their peer group, what have you, oh, I'm not going to be able to get into the right school, I'm not going to get, and that the mind begins to start thinking about all the negative consequences of that, and it becomes a downward cycle. School systems put some pressure on that as well. Test scores, we got to get our test scores up, our group test scores. Schools start putting some added pressure on. They put more and more emphasis on the actual classroom time bookwork, schoolwork. Let me give you an example. The programs I ran in one such district that had put a lot of pressure on this. We were doing a lot of good with the students academically and the emotional social aspect, but we ran our program very much like a homeschool. And we did a lot of experiential kind of trips that wrapped up units, got them outside, got them actually going to historic sites, experienced the things outside after doing certain units and studying and all that. When the district began to say, oh, you're spending these times out of the classroom and made some other changes, we need to have more done. And we were getting increases in scores, test scores with my students. But it was also, there was a fairness kind of thing, and the school system wide began to cut back on those sort of activities that students could do. And it added to increased pressure for that academic in-class performance. One of the things that is a result of some of our changes in modern society is this shockingly increasing level of loneliness. Loneliness used to be thought of as an old age disease, but we are finding more and more teenagers reporting their feelings of loneliness. So here they are, more connected than they've ever been in history, right? Where they can actually meet somebody and connect with somebody from away. Maybe even develop a relationship with somebody from away. Keep a relationship with somebody who moves away with screen time, with Zoom meetings, with FaceTime, with all the different modern technology ways. But yet, there's something not quite so real about that relationship. We are beginning to understand that the face-to-face, in-person contact, when you're interacting directly with people around you, is much more powerful than building a relationship through a screen. And that seems to be on the decline. And I can tell you from my own experience, having raised 4 kids, particularly with my youngest, who was really coming in right around into his high school years, right around the time that smartphones and social media and all this stuff was really beginning to rise. And he and his peers were much more inclined to be on their phones while hanging out with each other in our basement than his older siblings. And that is an alarming trend that we really need to watch. What can we as a society do about it? Well, let me tell you, of course, you hear this on my videos. It's about shifting mindsets in us as adults, as well as teenagers. We've got to get control of the screen time, of the social media usage. We need to begin to get kids, particularly at younger ages where the habits are formed, into more free play, face-to-face contact, not so much structure, letting them be kids in the old school idea of children. We need to begin shifting our mindset to how this comes about and what's possible, and that will then transfer to the kids. And then once they start getting middle school and all, and some direct training on how to handle their own emotions and mental health issues. That's going to be the solution. That's the great antidote to this problem. Well, we've come to another video, ending of another video, and I encourage you, particularly in this video, to leave some comments. Tell us what's working for your kids, what you're seeing, or maybe some of the challenges, what you see with your children's friends group, what you think is being done, what's not really being done well. Those sort of comments are helpful for others to see as well. So I'm encouraging you to comment, and the more you can comment and like and share, get this conversation going. Really encourage you to do that. And obviously, I would love to have you subscribe to my channel and checking out the other videos as well. And I will see you, hopefully, in another video.